It is 2:18 in the morning, YouTube.
Hi, YouTube.
But we're talking football.
We are. Shout out to the crew. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment.
It's actually 2:14. But because you just laughed.
Brandon's trying to pad the numbers by 4 minutes.
It's September 18th.
Because you just laughed, I want you to like, subscribe, and next time we'll get the time right.
Immediate reactions to week 3. We'll be back on Tuesday to digest the whole thing, but enjoy the show.
Just watch this fucking show. Just go.
You're good?
No cold open. Let's just go.
No, what do you mean? We always do a cold open.
Why would we? I mean, we got so much football. Let's just start it and go.
This is the cold open.
Yeah,
and your Ags did not finish the game early enough for us to start early.
You blew our cold open time.
You blew our cold open time, yeah.
If Jimbo would score one more touchdown an hour ago,
or Max Johnson,
we'd be finished by now.
I don't give a fuck how we won, when we won. It's that we won.
I'm jealous.
You should be.
Oh, we're beating you soon. All this good vibes is going to turn, but I'm okay. We're in good shape right now.
Okay, fine. I don't. Can you not kill my vibes?
No, I'm not going to kill your vibes. My vibes are high too.
Both of the vibes are high in here.
My vibes are good,
especially considering what happened.
Okay, why?
No, I'm just saying.
The way you said that.
I bet on Mississippi State.
I was like, oh, wow.
I lost money.
Wow, you look really good, except for the fact you're ugly. That's what you said.
You're not ugly.
That's not what he said.
Well, no, I'm saying, but you said, oh, the vibe's really high, considering what happened to you.
That's not what he said.
That is what he said. That's exactly what he said verbatim.
No, you know what he said? What he said was more like, oh my God, you look really good, considering how fat you used to look.
Y'all ready?
Yep.
Hello and welcome to Unnecessary Roughness, Barstool's college football podcast, brought to you by High Noon Hard Seltzer. For your tailgate, for your party, for your get-together, for your gathering, for your show, High Noon has a tailgate pack for you. It has the pear, the black cherry. It has the
black cherry peach.
No, that's not the tailgate pack. It has the pear, the cranberry, the black cherry, and one more. I think it might be the grapefruit.
Yep.
That is your tailgate pack. I'm almost certain that's it. But the tailgate pack is delicious, whatever's in there.
Yes, definitely.
Anyone
I
is delicious.
Anyone's
2
delicious.
black cherry, 2 pear, 2 cranberry, and 2 grapefruit.
Oh,
well,
wow.
why did you stop me?
I
had it.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I wasn't tracking, so I just might as well.
No, you were
No,
good.
I stopped him.
She
it was
stopped
my fault.
You didn't do anything wrong.
That was my fault.
First.
You did things wrong.
Well, I always do something wrong.
But you know what? You know what?
That's just a thing that I do.
There's going to be good, positive vibes here because we got Noah. This is the first time. Last time we were here, we didn't have Noah with us, right? This is the first time here. We got Noah.
Yeah.
Noah's setting everything up. Everything looks good. Hopefully the lights are fine. Yeah.
We got to bring him on the podcast maybe Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll bring him on. We'll let everybody meet him. Let the Roughnecks meet him. Noah behind the scenes, our producer. It's got to be a lot better Saturday for you when you don't have to do this shit.
Yeah, no, it's a godsend. I love Noah, and we appreciate all that extra help from Barstool.
And it's money well spent by Barstool because this podcast is shooting through the roof.
It is.
As it always
You're
does.
You're not lying.
I'm not
sometimes you're egotistical with things. This time you're actually telling
when
the
you're
truth.
Brandon Walker, you need to be egotistical.
See, why do you have to go ruin things? But like, if you've been watching this on YouTube or you follow us on any social media platform, you can see that like Noah has taken what Jack and Katie built, and amplified it.
Well, I feel like me and you helped build
well,
it too.
Well, we don't do anything on
we
social.
Nothing behind it, but it wouldn't be.
No, I'm talking
it's like
about
we're
like
the bricks.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about like the graphics and all that. We don't do any of that.
The blueprints.
We do what the graphics are about.
I'm the bricks. She's the
what?
She's the light fixtures.
What?
I don't know. I was thinking what's small in a house. The light fixtures.
Fuck you.
The pipes.
Oh, gee, well, no kidding.
They're very important. If the pipes break, you're fucked.
It's true. Good point.
All right. So it is Saturday night, right after.
No, brother.
Oh, it is Sunday morning.
It's 12:40.
This is the latest we've ever started. Mm-hmm. We're starting at 12:40.
It's the 9 a.m.
It is
p.m.
It is Sunday morning.
It's Sunday morning.
But it is right after as week 3 is wrapping up, and it's one of those that. It's just one of those college football weekends where you look on the slate and you say, well, it might be pretty good, might be this, might be that, might be whatever. And then college football just gives you Hail Marys. It gives you upsets. It gives you heartbreak. It gives you deliverance. It gives you all these good things. It has you feeling a hell of a lot better this Saturday than you felt last Saturday.
That is true.
Has me feeling a hell of a lot worse than I felt last Saturday.
Yeah, but you are in surprisingly good spirits for after what happened tonight.
I have. There is a part of me that now, in I guess it's maturity, like when you get to lead the lucky lives that you and I get to lead, all of us, and then you, like if I were at home making $30,000 a year and worried about my next mortgage payment, and we lost to LSU, I'm not sure I would bounce back as well.
Oh,
but I live a pretty decent life.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
So, but it hurt bad, and I'll say this: you went through it last week. I've gone through it. Everybody here is already. Well, no, you haven't gone through it yet.
Yeah. Big emphasis on the yeah.
As a sports fan, the first loss of your season in college football is the worst day of your sports year. Unless something unusual happens, unless you get close to the championship and lose, unless somebody dies that you love.
Well, yeah, we're talking about just sports fans.
I mean, like somebody in the sports world that dies. Yeah,
Oh,
but
okay.
the first college football loss is it hits you in the face. It smacks you. You realize, all right, not our year. You feel like you go through every emotion. It's, why do I do this shit? Why do I root for this team?
It's true.
I went through them remarkably fast tonight.
And every single fan base except for one, and even then sometimes one that wins
We'll have had that moment
will
at
have
some
had
point.
that moment. But every single fan base feels like this at some point. It just so happened that I felt that in week 2. You're feeling it in week 3. There are degrees to this shit, though.
Right.
Because you lost tonight, and I know we'll talk about that game later on, but you lost to an SEC opponent. So
Yeah. Well, no, that doesn't make any feel any better because LSU
should.
It should. No, it shouldn't. LSU's not any good. LSU is going to go 6-6, 5-7. They're not very good. We went down there, and there's a certain sense of finality and sameness, and we'll never be better. Like we go down there and lose every fucking time we ever play.
You had such a great tweet
Yeah. Like
at half.
what was it?
You were like, I have a certain sense of melancholy
Yeah,
coming over
I can
me or
feel.
something.
I
You
can feel the
it.
slow creeping of melancholy entering my life, and it was coming. I knew it the whole time.
You called that in like the first quarter.
No, he called that after the
We
extra
missed
point
extra
was
point.
blocked.
Yeah, I knew we made enough
missed.
mistakes where we dominated 3 quarters
Yeah, it was crazy.
and made enough mistakes. It was close. They dominated 1 quarter and didn't make any mistakes, and it looks like a blowout. Anyway, that's Mississippi State LSU. So much going on in the world of college football. And we're going to get to A&M Miami. I don't know that we should lead with either of those games
No,
because
definitely not. And also, I mean, after you made me wait an hour last week to talk about my loss, I have to, make you wait for a little bit.
well, I mean, whatever. Whether I talk about an hour or then, it doesn't really matter. I don't know where to start because obviously Nebraska, Oklahoma happened today. We'll start with
It
that.
felt like that
We'll
happened
talk about that.
2
I thought it
weeks
was going to
ago.
be bounce back Saturday, and a couple teams did just that. Oregon bounced back with a huge win over BYU.
Gigantic.
A&M bounced back. I don't want to be negative though. I got a different mindset here. I think there's like 6 or 7 teams and accomplishments that stood out today, and I kind of want to just go through that as our little outline to start the show.
So you're going to go through positivity first.
I'm going to go positive vibes
Who
first.
are you?
Yeah, what happened? Did you
No, I don't know. I don't
get
know.
laid or something?
I've been up for a while. I did get laid
there it is.
twice, and it was.
Oh, there it is.
But this is not the same Brandon from
Yeah.
the end of the Mississippi
it
State
was-
game to now. So where did you go?
I don't know. Doesn't matter. Just ride the wave.
Also, there's a clip of you tearing your hoodie. I could have sworn it tore. Or is it the inside of your shirt?
This is a well-made hoodie, is all I can
I
tell
could
you.
have sworn I
I
saw
thought
it
you were
tore.
having a Frank
I
the
was
Tank
trying to
moment.
rip it.
I thought you were eating your
This
shirt.
is
at
a-
one
I
point.
heard
Listen,
something rip.
I don't want to for no free ads, but I tried to rip this off of my chest. That's what I wanted to do, and it didn't do anything.
Adidas.
I ripped it as hard as I could. Here we go.
Positive vibes only.
Not really positive. We're gonna.
Well, no. I'm saying you're starting with positivity. So we're up really, really late.
So late.
We got to get up tomorrow.
Yeah.
We all have to get up tomorrow and work and watch the NFL.
Yeah.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put all these body armors in my purse.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take them home because not only
That's
are they going
stealing.
to. No, it's not.
Okay.
They're mine. Take them. Because the body armor edges,
Yeah.
not only do they caffeinate you,
Yeah.
so they're going to give you energy in the morning, right? They also hydrate you.
They sure do.
Double.
Hydration is so important.
Hydration's important. It's late, so we've been screaming a lot today. We need our electrolytes, so they'll replenish them, but they'll give us caffeine and
And
Brandon.
the other water I was drinking today was not giving me any electrolytes
No.
like the body armor at the office.
the body armor, and these taste delicious.
Yes, they do.
So what I'm gonna do when I wake up is I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh, they have coconut water in them. I'm gonna pop this baby open. I'm my day's made.
Got the berry blitz, the tropical chaos, the orange frenzy, all kind of flavors.
Power punch.
The power punch.
Your favorite
I love the
athlete.
power
Your
punch.
favorite athlete. If you're watching football, your favorite athlete loves Body Armor Edge.
Mike
so
Trout
does
loves
Casey
it
Smith.
too.
Yeah, and he's pretty good. I'd say
He's not bad.
He's not bad. No, it's like, you know, when you drink the sports drinks and they're like super salty or they taste like not great. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear in this ad or not, so I'm not going to. These do not taste bad.
We love you,
These taste-
Body Armor.
We love Body Armor, and everybody at the office loves Body Armor. If Body Armor goes missing in the office, if we're out for a day,
It's like
chaos.
Lord of the Flies, yes.
Yeah,
It
it's like
is.
water doesn't exist in the office.
Right,
That shows how good it is.
It
It's
is
a desert.
It is. It is an absolute
Frank the
travesty.
Tank comes around. He goes, "Where's the water?"
Oh, Frank the
I
Tank
go,
loses it.
I go to the sink. He's like, "No, where's the Body Armor?"
He gets very angry. So you can buy Body Armor on Amazon or at your local store, whatever. Again, their sports drinks are better than all the competitors. They taste great, and we love the Body Armor water.
Yep. I want to start with a take I had the other day, and I still have it right now. I want to start with the Penn State Nittany Lions. I think this is one of the best 10 teams in the country. I think there's still teams in the top 10 that have no business being there. Kentucky, Arkansas, there's teams all up and down from 5 to 15 that really don't belong there. And I think Penn State's one of the best teams in the country. And everybody's going to say, and when I said it on Twitter, people say, yeah, well, Auburn's bad. Well, Auburn's bad. Well, Auburn's bad. You walk into Auburn, Alabama in any year and with them in any state and beat them 41-12, you have accomplished something. That is one of the 10 hardest places to play in the country. I think Penn State's an outstanding football team.
I would say especially early in that game. So it's easy for people to say that after the fact when they look at the score being 41-12. It's like, yeah, well, Auburn stinks. Early in that game, Penn State was rattled. I mean, they handled their business, but it's not easy to walk into that stadium like you've been saying. But Auburn's defense was swarming Penn State's offense. And when you look at that game, I mean, Sean Clifford didn't have magnificent numbers. It was all about the running backs.
He was
for
14
Penn
for
State.
19, 178 yards.
Yeah,
no
like
touchdowns,
his
no
numbers
interceptions.
aren't fantastic, but they didn't need to be. That was the thing, is that they didn't need Sean Clifford to have some crazy night. But the two running backs that had the 4 touchdowns combined, that's what won it for Penn State. They just grinded Auburn's defense
Well, I
down.
think that's the special part of Penn State. I think athletically they're just very good. Their defense is good. They get after you. They get after the quarterback. They force turnovers. And I think there are some 3-0 teams in this country that I don't think are really that real. Like I said, not to go back to the well, but I think Arkansas is one of them. I think North Carolina is one of them.
waiting
Like
for that
there's some 3-0 teams I think are living on some
Borrowed time.
borrowed time, and I don't think Penn State's one of them, man. I think Penn State, they have a road win at Purdue. Speaking of Purdue, we'll get to them in a little bit. Maybe the best 1-2 team in the country. They're not bad either. But I think Penn State's an outstanding football team, and I think they're going to be rising up the ranks. And when you tell the story of the Big Ten East this year, maybe coming in, we thought you would have to have Ohio State, Michigan State in that order. I certainly no longer think that right now.
Well, no, Michigan State's a whole different conversation.
Is Tuck coming?
No, we can get to Michigan State later. I've been all over Penn State since the
Jack
beginning.
has, and he also agrees with that take.
I've been on Penn State too, but I haven't been on Clifford as much as him.
No,
I was the Penn State guy. You can go back to our Big Ten preview.
Okay, well, I got on him early.
Yeah, not before me though. Like I beat
it's
you
okay.
to it.
It's
No,
all
no, no. I
No,
beat you like out of the gate.
I'm
Give
still off him.
Jack this take because
All right, because I got a team coming that I was on.
and I have a team as well.
Go
We're all
ahead.
gonna
Yeah,
have,
no, yeah.
we're all gonna have a team, but I will give Jack credit.
You
here
may be
because-
too bullish on them though.
Oh, he can see your notes.
Penn State?
I can't see his notes.
Or-
No.
Oh.
I was
Oh,
just
you
going
should
off what he said. He thinks he's one of the 10 best teams in the country. Yeah, probably. I don't know. I think Michigan, Ohio State are above them though.
I think this is a year where everybody's going to feel overrated. Because
Except for one team. There's one team.
No,
that's,
I feel like there's so much parity that everybody's gonna take their time getting embarrassed and losing and getting beat, and I think everybody's gonna feel overrated because of that. Like Utah, for example, getting beat by Florida, they were number 7. They felt overrated immediately. Arkansas and Kentucky didn't struggle to the level of Arkansas. I just feel like everybody's gonna look overrated because I just don't think there's that top of the line strength behind Georgia, maybe Alabama, maybe Ohio State.
I mean, Michigan State today overrated.
goodness.
Notre Dame, obviously. I mean, we'll talk.
Yeah.
We'll
but
talk
I think
about
that's
all
going to
these
happen all year. I
Yeah,
don't think that's going to.
Baylor.
Yeah.
So
Baylor.
I
overrated.
think that's going to happen all year.
I would agree.
BYU looked at today.
The biggest takeaway for the Penn State game is along the lines of what you both have been saying, but it's that going into this season, you looked at the Big Ten and it was like Penn State, you would maybe bring up like 4th, 5th, maybe, depending on who you were, except, I mean, again, credit to Jack. But the thing about the way they won today is that it was and it's such a cliche thing to say, but it was a complete team win. Their defense, not giving any credit. I mean, TJ Finley is terrible.
And it does help that TJ Finley was the quarterback of the other team.
Yes, and Tank Bigsby, like, I think he had like maybe 40 yards tonight, maybe. But their defense forced multiple turnovers, and their offense played very well, and so they were a complete team. Now, what does that say about Auburn? Are they just that bad?
I just had an idea for a list.
Okay.
Oh.
We do the best transfers of the season.
Yep.
We should do the 10 guys that should have transferred because Tank Bigsby's way up there.
Yes.
Tank Bigsby's an outstanding player, a
He almost
wonderful
left
running
too.
back.
I think the boost.
He got close to leaving. He didn't leave. He should have left.
39
They're
yards
god
today.
awful.
He had 39.
They're
yeah,
god
but it was
awful.
less than-
The I think the
9
biggest
carries.
thing about Penn State today, and you guys, you two specifically, need to give some credit. Not you and Brandon, not you, Katie, to James Franklin. Like this podcast has called him a used car salesman.
That's
That's a pretty.
I never use that.
That's a pretty
I don't use
good
that term.
fucking.
You have used. I didn't use that.
I don't.
You said used car salesman.
I did not.
You definitely do, Brandon.
You say
I've
used
never
car
said
salesman.
used car
I've never-
salesman.
Really?
Maybe
I
you were
don't-
said it.
quoting.
Maybe if not, you're like.
It's
you
okay that you've said it, but you
Oh,
said
no,
it.
I-
the
that just-
people
I'm-
said
Oh,
this.
and I've
I've said
certainly said it.
Oh, I've said he's slimy. But I don't usually say he's a used car salesman. That's just not a
The
term I
biggest
usually
thing,
throw out,
he's a
but-
pretty good
All
fucking
right.
used car salesman.
Well,
Considering
why don't you
that
slow
he has
your
a
victory
top
lap
10
down?
He has a top 10 roster.
I'm
He's
trying to give
recruiting.
him credit, and you're trying to take
No, but we didn't say James Franklin once in the first 15 minutes of this
like
podcast.
I wanted to light up the
He's
victory
been-
cigar, and he just grabbed all 3 cigars and put them in his mouth.
Yes, no,
But
and
Jack's been all over this.
No, I just want to say that James Franklin, credit to him, but we have to slow our roll a little bit because they have a lot of losable games coming up.
That's fine, but this is week 3, and I think through,
Yeah, I
through
know,
the first
I
3
know,
weeks
I
of the
know.
season, they've been one of the best teams in the country. Now, go. One more thing.
No,
on that?
I was going to say Jack is right about giving James Franklin a little bit of credit. However, the biggest thing that I've always said about James Franklin is that like he just looks like an asshole all the time. So it's like when he's
I love that you said no. I won't say used car salesman.
no, it's not-
You said
no.
he looked like an asshole.
I didn't say won't
Which is
say
objectively worse.
It's definitely worse. It's not that I won't say used car salesman. It's just I don't think that that's like an insult that I throw out. I'll say he's an asshole. But when you're winning, you can act like an asshole. So Penn State fans who didn't like him when they would lose games they weren't supposed to probably don't care that he acts like an asshole now.
All right, we're going to swing back to the positivity in a little while because I do got to take one on the chin real quick. What were you about to say?
What do you think, like, as of right now, the bar or expectations for Penn State? Like, what could you see
I think
them
they need to
finishing
win
as?
10 games.
So what you've seen so
I
far?
think that's always there. Yeah, I think that's possible because, listen, they
They
got
got-
Ohio State coming in, and that's going to be a crazy game.
Michigan.
They got Michigan State. And I
And
think they beat
Minnesota.
Michigan
You
State.
still
And they
count
have
Michigan
Minnesota.
State?
Yeah, huh?
You still count Michigan
Yeah,
State
for
in the
sure.
pool?
That was a tough game.
I mean, one game
Yeah.
is not enough to throw
On the
anybody
West
out.
Coast,
Yeah,
you
no,
know.
I'm just trying to, like, gauge, like, start the conversation,
Yeah, no.
gauge.
One
You know what
one
we
game
should
is not.
do? I have an idea for a podcast.
Well, good. Well, we're doing one.
I know, but this is a podcast show.
Like
Okay.
one of the episodes.
Yes. Maybe after week 5 we do a I was right, I was wrong.
I love
I think we should do that at the end of September.
That's what
So
I just
next
said.
week?
After week 4.
You said week 5. You know
You know what? Have my cigar.
Semantics.
No, have my cigar. Have my cigar.
No, you're sassy
No,
today.
you-
You're sassy
You
today.
can have my
He is.
cigar.
You know
Have
that
my
you're
cigar.
sassy today.
No,
you're
you
very
can have my
sassy.
cigar.
Casey told you to shut up and you couldn't handle it.
No,
You're sassy.
that's not true.
No, he actually accepted the shut up very, very
He did.
gracefully.
I don't know why you're so sassy.
I gave you my cigar.
You still have 2
Pause.
left.
Pause.
All right. Before, that's nice to start with Penn State. Nice to
Okay.
start. We're gonna
Yes.
get back to positivity.
Yes.
But I do have to wear one on the chin. I gotta wear this one, because everything that you said about Oklahoma and Nebraska was right. Everything I said about
thank you.
Oklahoma and Nebraska was wrong. I looked at narrative. I looked at what I thought was Oklahoma was about, what I thought Nebraska could be about. I looked at everything and the funky, wonky Vegas line, and it fooled me. And boy, was I fucking full of shit for 6 days on this.
Yeah, KCW.
It's a rare KCW.
No,
No.
don't say rare.
Common KCW.
Well, I don't know if that's true either. We'll put somewhere in the middle.
The mid
A mid-
KCW.
Nah, you don't want to be mid. No.
No, never. But see, you weren't alone in that though. Like that's the thing. Is
I think I even said I'm going to say all these things, and then there's a chance I'm down 28-7 early in the second quarter, and I look like an asshole.
I think you said I'm going to scream it from the mountaintop.
I did.
They're going to cover and
win.
And then
no,
you
he
grab
said
my
win.
mic.
Oh yeah,
he said win.
All right, continue. Take your victory lap.
No, what I was actually going to give you a little bit of credit here is that I think that a lot of times it doesn't just happen at Barstool, but it happens everywhere. It's like somebody has a take, and then they hear that somebody else has potentially the same take or around the same opinion, and then that thing just gets bigger and bigger, and more gas gets thrown on the fire. And I think that's what you fell victim to, Brandon. That's what I think. I think that
no,
going into the season, you did say that you thought Nebraska was going to beat Oklahoma.
I did.
And then when Nebraska lost in week 0, you were like, okay, that take was dead.
Well, let me tell you the truth. That hurt so much.
Yeah, that's really hard.
Oh, God. My take about Nebraska winning this game and covering this game ultimately, subconsciously, wasn't really about Nebraska and what I thought about this coach and what I thought about their situation.
It was what
really,
you said in the offseason?
It was really about the fact that I didn't respect Oklahoma enough.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't look at Oklahoma and see a team as strong as they appeared to be today. I didn't look at Venables thinking he could turn them around to the point he turned them around. Now, they were already good. They didn't need turning around. They just needed tweaking and adjusting. What I saw out of Oklahoma today, there's so many things they've had. In the Lincoln Riley era, they would score a lot of points, but they would be sloppy defensively. They would have tackling issues. They would do things that just didn't – that showed weaknesses. I don't see any weaknesses right now. Venables, there's no sloppiness defensively. They tackle well. They get after you. I think, boy, they look like a really, really good-ass team.
They do, and
Gabriel's fantastic.
That's what I was going to say, that losing not just Lincoln Riley. I mean, we've beat that storyline into the ground, but also losing Caleb Williams, but getting Dylan Gabriel. And one of the reasons I was so high on Oklahoma was because it was like, we kept comparing them to last year and kept comparing them to what Nebraska and Oklahoma looked like. And it was like, this is just not the same team. But the bigger thing is Nebraska's just bad. And I know Jack pulled out the recruiting rankings to show like the strength of the roster. That was so glaringly obvious even when Scott Frost was still there, that to me there was just no way that Scott Frost leaves and then they just beat a number 6 team in the country. Now crazier things have happened, but Oklahoma is incredibly, like, they're good, we know that, but they're just so by the books, like just the team they should be. What word am I disciplined? Yeah. Like they're doing everything they need to do, and Nebraska is just bad. They're just bad.
Nebraska up front on both sides is very, very weak, but they make up for it with an incredible lack of team speed. They're very.
Dylan Gabriel beat them to the edge. And
Dylan Gabriel can play,
yards.
and
he's a great quarterback, but he's not.
He can scamper too.
Well, talk about transfer, and he transferred to the right place with the right opportunity. Who brought in the right coach for him? They brought in Jeff Levy to be his offensive coordinator. He had been with him before, and they can score. And it looks like they've got the best defense they've had in a long time. They haven't had a good defense in a while, but I think they've got one.
They haven't, and they had 600 yards on total on offense, and I think like half of that was on the ground. And Dylan Gabriel can take off. I loved what this Oklahoma team did today, but Nebraska, we can't just say that Oklahoma is going to be playing like this every single week and looking this.
Well, no, but that's
ease.
not the point. The point is, I was wrong about Nebraska, but I was more wrong about Oklahoma.
Oklahoma played really
did
well.
Yeah,
incredibly well.
Everything I thought about Nebraska was based on a misbelief in Oklahoma, and that was wrong.
Like if I gave you Oklahoma or Nebraska plus 24, you probably were taking that. That's a crazy line.
Well, I took Nebraska plus 11.
But they won by what, 42?
49-14.
So they won by 35, and they could have scored more.
I mean, it was over
after.
Long
it was
before
crazy
halftime.
because the first drive of the game, Nebraska looked like they were humming, and then it was very similar to the Northwestern game, which, by the way, Northwestern lost to Southern Illinois today.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams there, in a couple of conferences that are just spinning their wheels.
The bottom half of Big Ten did not look good.
I'd say the bottom half of the Big Ten, the bottom half of the SEC. I mean, or even in the middle of the SEC, like Florida looked awful.
But is there screenshots? I think that went around midday. It was like Northwestern was losing, Purdue was losing, Nebraska was losing.
Yeah.
Indiana was losing.
Indiana pulled out the W, but they almost lost.
Western Kentucky still covered.
Yep.
Yeah, I was on WKU too.
So coming up for Oklahoma, you've got Kansas State next week, which
they
Kansas.
took.
we're gonna talk about disappointment, and heartbreak in a minute, and they are prominently featured.
Yes.
Adrian Martinez, still Adrian Martinez.
Kansas State, they got TCU, they got Texas. I mean, I think the Big 12.
That TCU game's going to be massive.
TCU's not bad. Texas, we're coming up in a couple of weeks. Texas and Oklahoma.
And then after Texas, they have Kansas. Before the season, you would have said, "Oh man, that's an easy game."
Yeah.
And then Brandon, that's someone you were right about. Kansas does
their win
not
total today.
That's going to be my victory.
does not look like an easy game at all anymore.
It is 12:57 a.m. and Iowa's finally back on the field
for the second time.
Imagine
after 2 delays.
Just watching Iowa's offense at 11. Watching Iowa's offense at 12:57 p.m. is brutal.
They scored 2
Watch them at 12:57 a.m.
Well, I mean,
it's awful.
It's a lullaby. Like that's what that is. I mean, like whenever you throw on a
it would be if I were
random
home right
golf
now.
tournament.
If I were home right now, I could turn on Iowa playing football.
It's like
I would be asleep in seconds.
When it's not a golf major and it's like you're just taking a nap on a Saturday and you just
going
throw
in
that
and out,
on.
yeah.
That's what Iowa's offense would look like to you.
Nothing beats a good sports
nap.
in and out nap, and it's
so nice.
I think Sundays are the best days for that. Yeah, you fall asleep at like 2. You look around, it's 2:30. Somebody's on hole 4. You
It's
wake up there on
beautiful.
14.
20+ minutes to play, at least a full quarter.
What's the USC score right now?
21-10.
Jake Hayner just got carted off
Oh, that's not
that's
good.
not good at all.
for something knee or ankle.
That's not good at all. But that's Oklahoma. That's Nebraska.
21-10.
By the way, Casey Thompson though,
Huh?
like he struggled.
Well, I mean, there's nothing around him. There's just nothing there.
Well, they sacked. Yeah, and there's nothing. It's
There's
not his
nothing
fault.
there.
But I mean, he got sacked like 4 or 5 times.
The line sucks. There's no receivers.
It goes back to what you said. Oklahoma's defense looks really good, but Nebraska's just garbage.
Another weather delay.
I mean, just call it. Just call Iowa.
They walked out on the field and then they called it.
Yeah.
I mean, you just got to
that's
call that.
mean.
It's 17-0.
That's mean.
Iowa team total will hit.
Also, Iowa can't move the ball 100 yards. Just play in the concourse under the stadium. Just
Go out to the parking lot.
Yeah, just go.
Use parking spots.
Just go to their 40-yard indoor practice facility.
I have
that's
the
all.
under in that game, and I was just really hoping that I was going to egg because it's 17-0 with 5 minutes left on the third, and
They're
it's
just gonna
looking
give
really
up.
good.
All right, now.
How do you come into this podcast without a water bottle?
No idea. Is
I
this
got
yours?
you.
Is this fresh? I did christen this bounce back Saturday, so here's the 2 teams we're going to talk about. Number 1, we got to talk about the A&M Aggies. Now, I don't think the A&M Aggies looked terribly great tonight, especially offensively. Max Johnson, all you needed from Max Johnson was just don't be bad, and I guess that's what he did.
Competency.
Yeah, he didn't.
That's what you needed.
He didn't shit down his leg, and he scored enough points. They won 17-9. But the story was, A&M's got so many good athletes around them defensively. That's really all you needed to have happen.
And special teams. Special teams were huge for A&M.
I mean,
tonight.
listen. I think Miami's a good football team.
You can always gauge exactly how you feel about a team, going into it, but then at the end of the game when Miami had the ball with around a minute left,
yeah.
It wasn't just like, all right, this game's over, let's hit record. Like, I still believe in Tyler Van Dyke. That game was being at 9. I don't know how anybody likes a 9 p.m. kickoff, I guess, unless you're a college kid, but just waiting all day. It was an ugly game. They still covered. But I'll tell you what it does is it gives me hope now. Well,
it ought to. I mean, listen, people, again, act like things that happen early in the season are season enders and their coach career enders and they end everything. They're not. They're just not. You go through ups and downs, and how you respond to them is who you are and what you're about. And Jimbo and Texas A&M were ready. They came out and they beat a top 15 team tonight at home, and they'll go on to have the season they're going to – A&M will go on to win 8, 9, 10, 6, whatever they go on to win. But there's going to be more ups and downs coming.
Definitely.
But he showed the ability to circle the wagons and do what had to be done.
Starting Max Johnson was the biggest thing, and I know we recorded it, and of course, like an hour later is whenever the news started circulating that he was going to start Max Johnson. But that was the biggest thing to me, because Max Johnson, like you said, didn't have a great night. He had 140 yards. It was nothing jumping off the paper. But to me, going into the game saying we are making a change, we're not going to roll out the same shit that we tried last week and the week before, that was the big indicator that he's not playing around. Also, suspending 4 guys before the game even starts because they snuck out to go to a party. Jimbo's trying to send that message, then you lose 2 guys in the secondary to targeting. There's just so many things going against A&M tonight, so there's nothing I can do to complain because they won, and it was just everything was against them. And I mean, hell yeah, I'll take that win.
Here's what you don't need to say if you're out there. You don't need to say, well, Miami lost, they're not very good. I think Miami's going to be good too. Still think that's a 10-2 team. They struggled against elite athletes on defense tonight. They'll have to clean some things up, button some things up. But I think they're going to be fine going forward as well. As the ACC really strengthens into a very interesting conference this year with
Florida State.
Shout out to Florida State for winning on the road despite incredible circumstances last night. They're 3-0. I don't know how good they are, but I don't know how good. That doesn't matter. They're 3-0. They've answered the bell every single time, and that was a thrilling win for them on the road last night at Louisville.
Jordan Travis, he tweeted out, like, great news, let's keep it rolling.
Oh, that's fantastic. And then like Wake Forest is they're still undefeated by the skin of their teeth. NC State had a big statement win today where they handled their business against Texas Tech. The ACC is shaping up into be a very interesting conference. Now,
maybe not Georgia Tech.
Bounce back Saturday, not only A&M, the Oregon Ducks were out of week 1, they were probably one of 4 or 5 laughing stocks in the country. Mm-hmm. People wondered, hey, is this team god awful? Is it more about Georgia? Is it more about Oregon? Last week they scored 70 against Tomato Can. Now today they come out and just thump, and I mean thump, a top 12 team in BYU, who's not a bad football team.
No.
Again, they lost to Oregon, but they're not a bad football team. Oregon off the mat, and this was you know that Bo Nix isn't a guy that you're going to say is one of the best quarterbacks in the country, but I think he's got about 2 to 3 Bo Nix games in him every year where he's going to be outstanding. And he was very good today.
Yeah, he had 222 yards and 2 touchdowns. And you said this.
And was making plays.
He was making plays. You said this, and you just repeated it, but you said this going into the weekend was like, even though it's not a nighttime game and it's not like the primetime game everybody's watching, like he does have those games. First of all, Oregon's uniforms just threw me off all night. I was like, I can't. This game is just terrible to watch because they were just so heinous.
I tweeted that out in the Mad Jokes. It was like you'll be hidden when they shit themselves.
It's just gross.
Yeah.
But so it was hard to watch. But anyways, I mean, he looked really good. What I don't understand about Bo Nix, which I didn't understand when he was at Auburn, and I don't understand it now, is like on any given Saturday, to be cliche, he can be a completely different quarterback.
Yeah, no, he has a Jekyll and Hyde thing to him.
And it's not just like Michael Penix, and I know we'll talk about Washington, but like Michael Penix looks like he's got his whatever. Who's the good person of Jekyll and Hyde?
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right?
So is Dr. Jekyll
and Mr. Hyde. Yeah, Mr. Hyde's the bad one. Dr. Jekyll's the good one.
He's having a Dr. Jekyll season. He's looking great. He had a Mr. Hyde season last year. Bo Nix is just like he could have Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in the same game, but Oregon
Bo Nix can have it in the same drive.
That's true. He can have the same, just like first down Dr. Jekyll, second down Mr. Hyde. But they absolutely handled BYU, and Jaron Hall, like he had 300 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, but they were fighting from behind all day.
Yeah, he didn't play horribly.
And I think they're 11-1 still on the table for BYU. I think they're going to beat Arkansas. They're going to beat Notre Dame. And they're going to go in my opinion, they're going to go 3-1 against this stretch of Power 5 teams that they had. I
don't think that Oregon, and I know they got absolutely murdered by Georgia, but I don't feel like as this podcast we ever buried them.
I think there was a national burial a little bit.
There was definitely a national burial.
I think when they were losing 49-3, I think people were wondering what the hell is this.
I think that it was very much like this is absolutely disgusting. But we sat right in this room, and I don't think any of us were just like they're absolutely trash.
I think way too many people were just they saw the number of BYU plus money today and were like BYU.
Oh yeah, no, I bet BYU as well.
This was an easy spot to see coming.
I didn't bury, but I like dug the shovel and started digging a hole for the Pac-12.
You had to raise your eyebrows at what. But if you look back, and we'll talk Georgia in a minute, what we know about Georgia now, like they were playing a neutral site game in Atlanta in the first game after Georgia won their first title in 40 years with a new coach on the sideline and a new quarterback.
They had a bunch of turnovers.
Nothing about that game was in line for Oregon.
They had a bunch of turnovers inside the 40 as well, which is inside Georgia's 40. They could have scored a little bit more to make it a little bit more respectable, 49-24.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have looked as bad. But, I mean, hindsight's 20/20, and Oregon. It's good news for the Pac-12.
Well, very quickly, I'm glad you said that. Oregon getting up off the mat. Washington looks like they're pretty good.
Michael Penix
looks
really good.
Washington State went on the road, beat Wisconsin last week. Oregon State looks pretty good. They got USC next week. USC, like this, any consternation or any talking about the Pac-12, this is a better conference this year.
Well, that's that, and Katie just mentioned that she did that. I don't think that I realized that you had buried the Pac-12.
I was buried, but I was like,
no, I think she was more of a question. It was like
I dug the hole. I was their path is a lot harder.
That you are right about that being the national storyline, because I brought that up like on the Tuesday podcast. Like, where is this coming from that we're burying the Pac-12 because of week 1?
Yeah.
But it's not just you. I mean, I still think USC is the best team in the Pac-12. We'll see what happens. But you're right. Like the conference as a whole is stronger.
I think there's a chance Utah's not a top 3 team in that conference.
Right.
I believe it very strongly.
What's your standing right now?
Huh?
Where do you rate?
I would go. Listen, Washington looks really good. I think Oregon State is really good.
Sneaky.
I think USC is obviously very good.
I think USC plays Oregon State next
week.
They do in Corvallis. So the Pac-12 so far so good. I think they're not bad. I'll tell you about not bad though. We're moving on. We're staying in our positiveness. Who impressed me? Who was positive? And it's not positive for the rest of us because, oh my God, Georgia is a tremendous machine of death.
And I feel like when you look at the rankings right now, we know Georgia's number 1. They're so clearly number 1 that it's painful.
It is shocking
for anybody that's not a Georgia fan. And, we can all say, I think at this point, they would be the favorite to win the national title. But I'm not just saying that because they're number 1. Like, just watch. And I know Alabama covered today, blah, 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 whatever. Georgia's just destroying everyone.
Well, we came into this season, at least I did, thinking there's 1 and 2 way above everybody else. It's Ohio State and Alabama. Then Georgia's after them. But Georgia lost 15 players in the NFL draft. They can't be as good. So how far do they fall? How weak are they? Will they lose 2 games? Will they lose 1 game? Will they go undefeated? And then through 3 weeks, they have immediately reasserted themselves as the best team in the country.
And going back to Oregon, you look at week 1 and they killed Oregon. You're like, well, Oregon's pretty shitty. After what Oregon did today, it makes that win. And I know college football math and all of those things, but it makes them look even better because of the way Oregon was able to put away BYU. And, the thing about Georgia's defense is that they were one of the best ever last year.
Yeah.
They're equally as good. And now the offense is good.
And they're just – everybody on their defense is fast. Everyone on their defense is physical. Everyone on their defense apparently is the smartest guy in the world. Like, they just don't really have any weaknesses. They played three games. 1 was Samford. The other 2 were Power 5 games, a road game at South Carolina, a neutral site game against Oregon, neutral site in quotation marks. They're outscoring opponents 130-10. That's ridiculous.
And it's South Carolina.
Now, South Carolina I don't think is very good.
And,
but still.
R.I.P. Spencer Rattler.
Hand up.
It's time. It's time to bury him.
Never alive.
He was at OU.
But we thought he was. I thought he was going to be alive.
I thought he was too.
I think I had him in my top 15 quarterbacks this year. And we're going to have to revise. We're going to have to go back at the end of September and say, hey, who, because I got several quarterbacks that have played their way onto this list, several quarterbacks who have played their way off this list.
None of our lists are 100% right.
A couple of quarterbacks, by the way, have played their way on and off already in the season. Anthony Richardson. But
Boy.
Rattler ain't got it.
No, he
Not
he
that they're very good around him, but still.
He made some throws tonight that were so bad. And that's what he's baffling in the sense of, like, yes, he lost his job to Caleb Williams, but Caleb Williams right now I think is still leading the Heisman. I mean, Caleb Williams is an elite college quarterback. Spencer Rattler's worse than he was at OU.
Did you see the most awkward moment of the day? And it happened in South Carolina.
Oh, no.
Any of y'all see it?
No.
Which one?
Shane Beamer and South Carolina were getting ready for like a 4th and 5 in the first half. And during the commercial break, quarter break, I think it was the first play of the second quarter.
Oh, yes, I saw this.
During the quarter break, South Carolina brought on into the end zone a bunch of kids for a presentation.
Oh, yeah.
There were like 300 kids. And they were trying to get them all off because they have short end zones back there. and they were just not getting off very fast. And Shane Beamer is just yelling, "Get off the fucking field! Get off the field!"
Like the kids?
Yeah, but he's 50 yards away from the kids. I'm sure he was just yelling, but it was like I don't know if they were kids, but they were like teenagers.
Oh,
and
well,
most
that
of them were
does make a
girls.
difference.
It was weird. It was awkward.
It's probably like honor roll from sororities or something.
It was awkward. No, it was definitely high schoolers.
Oh, it just looked like maybe high schoolers.
But
yes, Shane Beamer and I, I feel like we've kind of ridden. Is that a word? Ridden a roller coaster?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, ridden a roller coaster with him too, because we kind of made fun of the hire, and then it didn't look like a bad hire.
Yeah.
He's just not like people are bringing up like what I think you tweeted it from Unnecessary Roughness that there was like one play that he looked like that South Carolina did one thing good and he freaked out on the sidelines again.
No,
that
there's
was
a
last
meme.
week.
I think
Wasn't
when
it?
they
That was
beat
last week,
Georgia
but
State.
didn't he do it again today?
He did. He did have the situation last week when they barely beat Georgia State. Last year, there was a situation against Tennessee that Tennessee fans meme all the time, where they were down 35-7, and they stopped Tennessee on 3rd and 8 or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a photo of him going like this, and he kind of looks like Frank Beamer in the 0-0 photo. And Tennessee fans.
He's excitable.
He's got a little Tom Allen tryhard in him.
And after the game, people are asking him like, "Did you sense any like give up, quit on this team?" And he was like, "No, not at all." It's
instantaneously.
Like, what do you mean? Did you watch the game today?
Well, maybe you should have given up because, my God.
If that wasn't giving up, I don't know what it was.
Back to the Heisman. Stetson Bennett will be in New York for the Heisman ceremony, and he's not going to have to make a difficult throw all season.
No.
He's throwing short passes to wide open receivers. Brock Bowers is one of the best tight ends, not only this year, but we've seen in college football in recent years. He is incredible. Tight ends the size of Brock Bowers shouldn't be doing what Brock Bowers is doing.
You tweeted that about Stetson Bennett, which feels like, again, it was years ago, but that was this morning or yesterday. I think he was already going to be – all he had to do is just play well, and I think he was already going to be invited just because of the way that Georgia is playing.
It's 4th right now.
In the odds?
Yeah.
Oh, that'll change a lot during the season. But the way they play, I don't see him fading away unless he just has a stinker that I don't see coming.
Yeah, it goes
which
back.
Is possible.
It goes back to what we were saying. It's like this defense is still elite, and now the offense is better because that was the knock on Georgia last year, even though they won the national title, was that they have one of the best defenses we've seen in a long time, and their offense is serviceable. Well, now their offense is just good.
I got in an argument with Georgia fans in the offseason. I was like, your defense isn't going to be as good, and your offense still won't be any good, so you will come down a little bit. And they said, no, our offense is going to be elite. Our offense is going to be great. No, it's not. Well, it kind of is. It looks that way so far. So they were right. Now, it's time for a little victory cigar from me. He was right on something. You were right on something. But, buddy, I saw Kansas coming. I had Jalen Jones. Which one is it? Is Jalen Jones? Jaden. What's his last name? It's late.
Well, it's early.
Yeah, it's early. What's Kansas?
I got you.
Kansas's quarterback's very good, and their coach is very good. They're scoring a lot of points. If they're not ranked come tomorrow and come Monday,
Jalen Daniels.
And the coach Jalen Daniels, thank you. If they're not ranked in the AP poll, the coaches poll, just get rid of the fucking polls.
They won't be this week.
They better be.
I don't.
They
think
have
they will
gone.
be.
This team has gone on the road. First of all, they're scoring 50 points a game. Secondly, they went on the road, beat West Virginia. Now they went on the road, beat Houston. Houston's good.
Houston is good.
Houston's a good
I
football
think they need
team.
one more week and then they'll be
No,
ranked.
they better be in. With all these trash ass teams we're ranking, they better be ranked.
But you can't go from being.
Why not?
Well, you can. But
If Florida can go from being unranked to number 8,
But they're probably receiving. Kansas right now is not receiving any votes.
they better receive enough votes this week.
We've talked about this with the AP Top 25, and we have to do it not only just for TV rankings, but just for conversation. Like, there's nothing we can do as much as we make fun of it. The problem with the AP is that they always go off of what they voted the week before. What I would love to see, and I don't think it'll ever happen, but what would be great is if you could Men in Black every single week. Like, you can take and zoom.
Right.
And
if it were like Drew Barrymore and 51st Dates.
Yeah, just every Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Like, we remember, but like nobody else does. That would be fantastic because then you're actually voting on who the best teams are on the field week in and week out versus what you thought in June or July. That's where Kansas is going to get fucked.
And anyone not voting for Kansas is just doing so because it's Kansas at this point, because there's not the list of teams that have a better 3-0 start than Kansas, which includes a road win at West Virginia and a road win at Houston. it doesn't reach 25. There's not 25 teams with a better resume than that through 3 weeks. Just
especially given what Kansas has been.
I just think it's a great story. I mean, their over-under for this year was 2.5. They passed it today.
And you know what else it tells me, too? And I know we can't always compare this year to last season, but that win over Texas last year, that it was just like, oh, boy, Texas, you stink. You lost to Kansas. They're still absolutely a part of that. It also just tells you that Kansas was gearing up because they weren't just it wasn't a joke of a team that beat Texas. It was a joke of the name.
I mean, they competed with Oklahoma last year. They competed with other teams. And now Leipold is a hell of a coach. And I hope, for Kansas' sake, that Leipold is a coach that's going to be at Kansas for the next few years. But if I'm Nebraska, man, if I'm Nebraska.
Why wouldn't you?
Of course you got it. And then there's other coaches out there that you certainly need to call, too, and just see where it is. But, my God, the guy in his second year at Kansas is 3-0 and beating teams that have been good.
What's his salary at Kansas?
Oh, I don't know, but
I just out of curiosity, because money does talk.
I assume at the end of this year it'll probably be whatever he wants it to be.
But he 2.8.
I mean, that's not a shitty salary. I mean, no, it's not.
No,
Alabama, but
at Buffalo he was 600.
Yeah, no, he's living a good life. He's living a good life.
And I assume the cost of living.
2.8 in Lawrence, Kansas.
Yeah, I was
is
about to
probably
say
a good
it's
life.
cost of living. But you hitting their team total over in week 3, that is incredible, but that also is why I think it's going to take the curmudgeon writers and whoever else is voting another week to end up putting them in the top 25.
He's also not young. I think he was like 58, 59 years old.
He's won everywhere he's gone.
He's won everywhere he's gone, and he's like
D3 championship.
And he's pretty much
Where's he from?
He's pretty much stayed
Wisconsin Whitewater.
He's pretty much stayed places for a while too. So he might be a guy that said, "Listen, Kansas gave me my fucking breakthrough. They gave me my shot at this level, and I'm going to see this through."
Yeah, but then if you've got teams
but
that
if Nebraska
have
calls and says, "I'll give you $6 million,"
right? That's the thing. It's like now these teams with all these boosters that are like, "Well, okay, yeah, you might want to see it through, but I'll raise your 2.6, 2.8, whatever it was, to 7."
He has history at Nebraska. I'm looking. He has some years at Nebraska Omaha, but then from 2001 2003, he's an assistant at Nebraska.
Now, here's a team that I think has come out of nowhere, and a quarterback who's come out of nowhere. Michael Penix was somebody who was fun to make fun of last year when Indiana was struggling and he was going through injury issues and he was not very good. He goes to Washington, and I'm thinking when he goes there, like, really, Washington? This is transfer portal is open, and you go get Michael Penix? That's what you're doing? Yeah, sure. And now they beat the hell out of Michigan State. They're 3-0, and Penix is playing his ass off.
And being reunited with his offensive coordinator from, 2019 when he had that really good season?
Yes.
2020 or
yeah, I think
COVID.
It was. So that all plays into it. I think, I don't know if, I'm not going to say we owe him an apology because we were right about him at Indiana.
No, I think we do.
We owe him an apology as a whole. We don't owe him an apology for that year at Indiana because he ended up being bad. He also was very hurt. But just getting out of Indiana and putting him in a completely different uniform and then also being reunited with the guy he was good with, he is, it goes back to the Jekyll and Hyde. Like, he is Dr. Jekyll right now. And he's been Dr. Jekyll all season.
He's just been outstanding.
It does show Washington's a great example of when you have a talented roster and bad coaching does matter. Because last year, the roster was just as talented as it is this year, and they looked like a legitimate football team this year. Last year, they looked god-awful. I don't know what was going on with Jimmy Lake, and maybe he didn't pick the right offensive and defensive coordinators, but boy, was he not good. This is a good Washington team. I don't think they're good enough to win the Pac-12, but they're good enough to be in the top tier of it.
Yeah.
And Michigan State, I obviously could do a victory lap around them. I don't think this says a lot about them. This is a tough spot. They go on the road. Peyton Thorne actually played pretty well.
They also
Michigan State,
they fell behind by $1 billion and fought back to make it respectable.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say it's respectable. Like, you can't really do the whole Tuck coming thing and then
I knew it was coming.
tweet about all his how cool he looked coming off the bus and whatnot,
Hell
and
Jack, do it.
then get blown out like that.
Yeah.
Especially on national TV. Like, you got to get up. As much as I was going to say it's a tough spot, you got to get up, especially if you're a Tuck coming. But I wouldn't be surprised if they still knock a Big Ten team off like Michigan.
Yeah. And here Michael Penix came into the day with 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. Today, 397 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. Just outstanding. And he's up to 10 touchdowns, 1 interception. Like he's been as good as any quarterback in the country so far. And he's obviously comfortable out there. And Washington, it's nice to see a rebirth out there. Kalen DeBoer in his first year out of Fresno State. It's nice to see a rebirth.
Yeah, I don't think that Washington this year is going to compete for the Pac-12 like Jack said, but they are definitely one of those teams that like I think when we tiered teams, I put it as like we'll be there to like fuck shit up for a team.
Right.
That's what Washington's going to be in the Pac-12. Like they're gonna disrupt something
I think
later
it
on.
could
in the
be better
season.
than that, but I don't think that's crazy what you're saying.
I think that they're gonna have a respectable season for themselves, but that also like they're good enough to upset somebody down the line that's like talking about being in the college football playoff or talking about being in the Pac-12 championship.
I mean, they were 3.5-point favorites over the 11th ranked team. So I mean, I wouldn't even say
won by 11, right?
Yeah, and that just goes to show that like I'm not going to shit on the AP poll because we talk about it every week, and it's a thing that is present in college football, and so it's whatever. But this goes to show that there's like levels to this, and the AP poll is not the best way to look at teams. I think it matters because it's like what you do on the field opposed to little things that you would look at from an analytic perspective. But
since we've brought
Washington, really great job, hell of a rebuild. That didn't really even take that long.
Since we've brought up the AP poll now twice, and like Jack, you're right, we have to talk about it. Like, at what point does, because we know we have to have rankings for, this is kind of like a side note, just really quick, but we know we have to have them for TV rankings. At what point does like ESPN just come out and just be like, you know what? Like, we're just going to do preseason college football playoff rankings. Like, they just take it. Because, like, the AP, and I know that's, like, a much bigger conversation. But in 2 different conversations now we've talked about, well, the AP top 25 is kind of a joke, but we have to have them. Why not?
Yeah, well, the AP is just an organization that is like a tick in the side of America. Like, it's always there. And in every aspect, like in politics, AP still has writers and stuff. Like, you're just not going to get rid of the AP. It's the Associated Press. So, It's
like a union.
It's a union, basically. Yeah, they've got their clamps into this country, and even though they're maybe outdated in some of their things, they're just never going away. Another team. Shout out to the 3-0 Syracuse Orange.
Garrett Schrader.
Garrett Schrader with one of the most beautiful dimes I've seen in a long time. 7 seconds left. He throws a fucking dot with somebody in his face to beat Purdue. Purdue, 1-2. I don't think they're a bad football team. They lost at home to Penn State at the last second. They lost on the road to Syracuse at the last second.
With 7 seconds on the clock.
Syracuse is 3-0. They got a win over Louisville. They got a win over. They got a win over now Purdue, and they have the win over UConn. Like they're not bad. They're a good football team. I don't know about they're a good football team, but they're off to a good start.
Did you see Aiden O'Connell's stat line tonight?
What was it?
424 passing yards.
3 touchdowns, 1 interception with 424 yards.
Yeah, no,
Syracuse only had 306 total offensive yards.
Hung around, got a little lucky. I think Purdue missed a couple field goals. Yep. Yeah, like Purdue dominated the game. And then, something very similar happened in my game. We dominated the first 3 quarters, missed some kicks, made some mistakes, and then all of a sudden.
And then Aiden O'Connell, the interception he threw, unfortunately, was a pick 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
Yeah, you really can't.
Can't have it.
Can't have it. Now, I have a question. Shout out to Purdue. Shout out to Syracuse. My next team, I'm going to ask you a question about.
Can I guess who it is?
Yes.
Is it Maryland?
No.
Okay.
Outside of that day in Michigan Stadium in 2007 that put them on the map and got the ball rolling towards them becoming FBS. Was this the greatest day in App State football history?
I don't know if it would be the greatest.
I know they won some FCS championships, but boy, they had game day this morning, then they beat Troy on one of the most beautiful, unlikely Hail Marys we've seen in a while. I
wouldn't say today. I mean, today obviously incredible. I mean, that Hail Mary bobble, just falling, that was fate. It has to definitely be the best week in their history because I would say
starting last Saturday night.
Yeah, because the way that they reacted to beating a top 10 team on the road, I would say from a winning standpoint, that's a bigger win than a win over Troy.
The win over Troy isn't that big in itself, other than the fact that they changed it from a loss to Troy. Like they were about to lose to Troy, and they threw a Hail Mary one of the worst thrown Hail Marys I've ever seen. It was about 7 yards short of the end zone, pops up in the air, and just a perfect set of circumstances where the guy caught it going in the right angle, and anyway, scores. Wild scene in Boone, North Carolina, but they had game day today. That's not a small thing.
No, of course not, especially because game day was supposed to be in College Station. They not only took money from A&M, took a win from them, they also took game day. The local radio call of that touchdown, of the Hail Mary blunder, is so, I mean, any local radio call is always great, win or lose. And as long as you're not on the losing side of it, they're very entertaining. But just everything is coming up App State. That's what it is. I don't know what to expect from them moving forward. We've talked a lot about the Sun Belt, but if you're in Boone, North Carolina right now, and you haven't been sober in weeks.
No, you're living a good life.
Or in a week at least.
I think in a few, maybe once the dust settles from this game, they'll probably look back at it. The past 2-3 years that they've played, App has blown them out of the water. Yes, it's a great win, but I think look back at it.
That doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter because the
moment.
No, 100%. But I'm it was a question mark. The fact of they had all the hype.
No, they weren't great today.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But they pulled their bacon out of the frying pan. Like they were able to escape, and it turned into an iconic moment for them. I'll say this. I want to talk to ESPN for a second.
Oh.
I know you're a competitor, and I know we have the college football show that we're on the road a lot. ESPN, I think you would do well with game day to take it to more App States of the world, to take it to more places that have never had it, to take it to more places starving for it, as opposed to going to Tuscaloosa every 4 weeks or going to Columbus every 5th week. I really think that scene in Boone, that desperation to have it, that validation to have it, is what College Game Day is more about than just going to Alabama, Auburn.
I would agree. We get a lot of people that tweet, we saw it last week when we were in Iowa City. It was like, why are you guys going to this game? There's a million other good games. It's like we also take into consideration, we have the gambling side that game day doesn't, but we also take into consideration where the Barstool audience is crazy. And game day is a completely different monster because it's, it's
well, they don't play to the audience that's there anyway.
Right. Yeah. They don't play to it. But you're right. It's like it doesn't have to always be the marquee game of the week, because normally with the marquee game of the week is they're used to having that. And you see, we like to make fun of ESPN, but you have seen it in years past where the College Game Day push for schools that are used to having it is not really there anymore. No one gets excited at Ohio State if College Game Day is coming. They're like, all right, whatever, who fucking cares?
Right.
App State, this is I can't imagine what they were doing this morning waiting for that stage to open up.
They were gathering at 6 a.m., but also speaking of shows, how at another competitor, the chance of We Want Urban, and then the news broke that Nebraska actually has talked to Urban. If you guys have thoughts about that.
I think they have to. I mean, I think
well, yeah, you gotta. Anybody with a job opening has to call Urban. Urban's one of the top. When he's going, he's one of the top coaches in the country, and you have to give him a call. You have to check. Hey, is this possible? You might find out it's not. You might find out it's not the right fit. But I think he should be the first call for any GM, or not GM, but any athletic director worth this salt in the country.
How reasonable do you think that it could happen?
It's not going to happen.
They'd have to give him $20 million a year.
No, I don't know. They wouldn't. I don't know if they'd have to do that.
You think he'd go for
if somebody gives him an opportunity,
10, 9.
If somebody gives him an opportunity, I think he'll take it. But if I'm him, and knowing who he is, knowing how he builds teams by going to programs with resources, using those resources to get the best roster by recruiting. I just don't know that Nebraska can do that in 2022. I don't know that they can build a Florida-type roster in 2022 or a Ohio State-type roster.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
And it's a really good point, because I wouldn't be surprised if after how embarrassing the NFL journey was,
that's true.
He also looks at it and it's like, I don't want to risk my college football legacy. I get paid a lot on Fox. Pretty good life. And then maybe in 5 years when it's another Ohio State opens or another Florida opens,
he can pick wherever he wants to go.
I think the better fit. Listen, this is going to be crazy and shocking and weird. I think if there's ever a coach where the Auburn fan base would stand back and stand down and let a coach come in and control it, if they could get Urban, and that's an SEC recruiting territory, and you would have the challenge of going up against Saban, Auburn makes more sense for Urban than.
And then I also think he wouldn't be. I would not be surprised if he's looking right at UCLA if they continue to kind of, let's say they lost today.
Think he'll go play second fiddle to Lincoln though? Although I just said he'd go play second fiddle to Saban.
I mean, when he took over Florida, he was kind of Florida wasn't playing second fiddle to Florida State and Miami, but he did kind of come in at Florida.
He did change that around.
Yeah, when it was kind of like the end of Florida State and Miami.
I think they were playing second fiddle at that point.
They were, so he would come in, and then he looks at those resources and he sees how easy it is to bring recruiting talent there. I think he would look at that in Auburn, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if this is always around because he's the one school he's always wanted to coach Notre Dame.
Yeah,
throughout.
And everyone plays second fiddle to Nick Saban right now.
Yeah, and there's a difference in being the second team in a state that competes against Alabama to being the second team in a city.
Right, and also like UCLA is just. I mean, we talked about.
They just don't care.
They don't care. I mean, the crowds are off.
People would come though. I think it would take some time, but I think
people aren't really coming to USC. Did you see their crowd today? Like it was decent, but it wasn't great.
But at the end of the day, those teams are like. They aren't attendance teams.
Well, it's like Miami.
It doesn't really matter. It's like
you're right.
They get paid so much because like they have the biggest TV market outside of New York City in the world. It may even be bigger. Not the world. I meant
America. Couple more shout outs real quick. We made fun of him when he lost. But Marcus Freeman has gotten off the schneid. He has got his first win as a coach. He has beaten the Cal Golden Bears. Wasn't pretty, wasn't sexy, wasn't lovely. Notre Dame's still got major issues. Don't think they're going to have a winning season, but at least he won today.
Speaking of talking about coaches, I mean, there was at one point when we were in the gambling cave, and yes, they won, so fine. But there was at one point they were like, if he loses today, is there a serious conversation about firing him?
I think you at least start talking to each other.
He would be so easy to fire because I bet his buyout is so low, and it's like, you know what? We'll just start. The only thing is he does have a really good recruiting class coming in. Yeah. Not that it wouldn't be hard for another guy to do that.
The optics wouldn't be great. It wouldn't be great to fire him, but
he
won.
Bad.
He won.
Not pretty though.
Huh? They look
I know
bad.
he won, but like even more red flags I felt came up.
Fine, but he won.
Yeah.
Let's let the man have today.
No, congratulations.
Yeah. I'm so happy
he's 1-0 as a Roman Catholic.
Especially because they come to UNC next week, and if they had been over, we would 100% been the first team to lose to them.
They looked bad.
Shout out to the NC State Wolfpack. I thought the NC State Wolfpack, in week one, they kind of embarrassed themselves with an effort at ECU that wasn't great. Last week they beat Tomato Can. Today they had Texas Tech coming in, and NC State looked really good. Again, I think the ACC. Actually, I think there's several. I think all the conference races are shaping up really good. Pac-12 has more good teams than I thought they would. I think the Big 12 probably has better teams at the top than I thought they would. Texas is certainly ahead of where we thought. Oklahoma's ahead of where I thought.
Kansas State is not.
We're getting to the disappointment and heartbreak section in a second. And in the ACC,
gross.
I kind of like what we're seeing across this country. There's a couple places. The Big Ten West is god awful, and the SEC East outside of maybe Georgia. But
I was going to say, I think actually, if you were to take the Power 5 conferences and say, what's the most sewed up conference right now? It's the SEC.
I would disagree with that because Alabama's still there. Alabama's still there.
What do you mean?
I mean, Alabama's still there.
Yeah, but I think we know it's Alabama and Georgia.
Yeah, but okay.
I mean, as who's going to be the top two teams.
Oh, I thought you meant who's going to win it. Okay, all right.
No, I'm saying but of all of them, I mean, I think that if you said, well, if you were a Georgia fan, you're like, no, Georgia's going to win it. No, Alabama's definitely still there. But I think we're pretty sure that we know Alabama and Georgia right now are the two best teams in the SEC.
I would be shocked if Alabama didn't play Georgia for the SEC championship.
Shocked. All the other conferences right now, it's you could probably make an educated guess, but it's not near as well, we know it's Georgia and Alabama.
Now it's time for the disappointment and heartbreak. Now it's time. Unless you guys had some shout outs you had to give to somebody that I don't know about. And we go to Kansas State. Kansas State's been a sexy pick. They've been a sexy pick to and this I got some disappointment and heartbreak here because me and Katie are on the Brandon Walker College Football Show. There's a gambler that calls in every week. His name is DeCucci from Toronto.
At least screen name.
His name is DeCucci.
I hope it's his real name.
And he calls in, and he usually gives me a pick. And the first week it was good. The second week it was good. This week he called and said, Brandon, take Tulane money line to beat Kansas State.
You laughed at him, didn't you?
I said, you are crazy. They got a Heisman contender in Deuce Vaughn. They look good. Their defense is good. No chance Tulane goes in there and beat them. Tulane puts on the most beautiful uniforms of week 3, walks in there and beats Kansas State. Now, Kansas State, who was a lot of people's sexy pick to win the Big 12, yikes.
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 They were.
That's not good.
No, and Tulane's helmets were sick today.
So sick.
I mean, they were great. Kansas State, when we talked about the Big 12 and we had the graphic of who's going to compete for the title and all that, Katie, I think you were pretty high on Kansas State, and that wasn't something that was like a bizarre thing. It wasn't like, why is she doing that? It was like, no, there are definitely people that think that. And I mean, after today, I don't know if I would even put them in the top 5 of the Big 12.
Baylor,
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma State, Texas.
If Kansas
TCU's not bad.
TCU's really good.
Yeah.
Baylor's
right
bounce
there.
Back.
Yeah. Iowa State's not bad.
I honestly, maybe it's just, again, we're drinking the Kool-Aid. I feel like Kansas.
They might not be the best team in the state of Kansas. Interesting. Looks like the Iowa Hawkeyes are back on the field, by the way.
Oh. How much time is left in that game?
It is 1:46.
5 minutes.
It's 1:46 a.m.
4 minutes in the third quarter.
Okay, just step all over me. It's 1:46 a.m.
Why
and
have
with
they not called it?
4 minutes and 8 seconds left in the third quarter, Iowa faces a 3rd and 17, which I bet is beautiful.
Iowa knows that if they don't get to a bowl game, it's utter disappointment.
Oh yeah, they got to get this win.
They don't know if they're going to get one.
Imagine you paid. But imagine you're in Nevada. After this game, you're probably getting on a plane going home. And there's been a plane waiting on the tarmac for it. You're going to get on a plane at 3 a.m., fly home. Oh, it's going to be awful. God awful.
I'm sure they'll get the day off tomorrow.
You don't talk about heartbreak. Anthony Richardson 2 weeks ago was the talk of the town, the belle of the ball.
Top 10 pick.
He's not good. They got lucky to beat South Florida, and I mean very lucky. Florida's not a good team. That's why I don't think I move that even. I extrapolate that to Kentucky, who wasn't very impressive today. I don't think the East is good at all. Tennessee's the only chance outside of Georgia. Florida's not good. Kentucky's not good. They're not as good. They're better than Florida. But yeah, yikes.
The plays that he made that were just absolutely disgusting. He should be I know you can't really do it in college because they don't have NIL deals, whatever. Yeah. He should buy a bunch of gifts to some of those guys on the defense for just bailing his ass out, because you're right, it was an ugly win. And I know every time this happens, I always roll my eyes, even though I feel like any school does it. The way that the Swamp was celebrating at the end of that game, like they had beat fucking Alabama, it's it is USF.
Yeah, but that's not.
But no, I know
that's not a celebration. That's a relief. That's a relief celebration.
It's.
That's oh, thank God.
Thank Jesus. But he just made some horrible decisions, and I don't get it. I don't understand. And I think that we said it on this podcast, and I know it was thrown around in the gambling cave too. He truly is one of those guys that has the highest ceiling and the lowest floor.
Yeah, it's wild. He has a top 10 ceiling and a bottom 10 floor.
Watch him go out and just have an unreal game next weekend.
Tennessee, because Tennessee's defense ain't great either.
He had
is he the next Bo Nix?
112 yards.
I think he has a
Bo's better.
Yeah, Bo is more consistent, but Anthony Richardson can get higher highs.
Yeah, his ceiling's higher.
112 yards against USF.
Yep.
And we had him after the Utah game, winning the Heisman that week.
Now, let me just get this out of the way. Heartbreaking disappointment. I took my loss today. Mississippi State goes down to LSU, and it's a house of horrors. We just don't play well down there or against that team. We can be better than that team. That team's still going to beat us. I don't know why. We dominated the game for 3 quarters, fucked around, and let LSU off the mat. LSU has better talent than we got, and they figured it out and just started throwing to the good players, and their quarterback started making plays, and they just beat our fucking ass. 31-16 sucks. I hate it. Will Rogers' Heisman campaign's over. The offense was disgusting.
Jaden Daniels had a good game.
He's so bad.
But you say they beat your ass. The score, yes,
they scored
31-16.
Yeah.
But watching that game, they did not beat your ass.
Oh, we dominated the game for 3 quarters and just didn't score any points.
There was a moment at with minutes left that it was well, wait a minute, this, and then it just turned. But Jaden Daniels is not great. That team.
Well, he won't beat many teams. The LSU's not going to win a lot of games. They're probably not going to go to a bowl, but they beat our ass. So,
LSU put up a fair amount on offense, and it wasn't like he was bad, but it was just I didn't watch that game and I know it's easy for me to say because it's not my team. I didn't watch that game and think, wow, Mississippi State stinks.
Yeah, but that's the problem because you play good football, you get a good team, and you got this moment, and then you shit the bed, and you can be better than them, you can be good, you just shit the bed, and now you're 2-1, and you're not going to have a special season. You just can't have a special season now.
LSU's offense just wore your defense down, and like I said, it came down to the end
No,
of that game.
Mississippi State's offense wore our defense down because they wouldn't stay on the fucking field.
Also fair,
All
but
right.
I wouldn't. You always say not to bury teams too fast.
Well, when it's your team, you can bury them.
Well, I tried to last week. You didn't let me. Now did you?
And was I right?
Well, I'll be right too. Who do you play next week?
Bowling Green, and then we play.
Us?
No, yeah, maybe. I think we might have. Yeah, it might be you. It is you.
Okay, maybe you should bury your team now, Brandon.
Okay.
Bury the fuck out of them.
All right. Rapid fire. You ready?
Ready.
Big 12. Oklahoma beats Nebraska 49-14. Baylor with a 42-7 win over Texas State. West Virginia 65. Towson 7. Iowa State cruises over Ohio 43-10. Tulane 17. Kansas State 10. Kansas
Yuck.
48-30. Kansas 48-30. They have scored. They scored 55 last week. They scored 50-something the other week. They scored 48 this week. Yes.
For Kansas State, is this Kansas State revealing itself, or do you think that's just like a one-off?
I think it's probably a one-off. I think it's a sleepwalk. It's a play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I think they'll be good. I don't know if they'll be great, but I think they're going to bounce back as a better team than this.
I don't think
this
that
is
they're gonna
this is
suck.
Texas A&M losing to App State.
Yeah, but
A little
Kansas-
lesser version because Kansas State isn't as good as A&M.
I think that it revealed themselves as they're not competing for the Big 12.
You never know. I mean, it's not a Big 12 loss.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Tulane's not a bad
probably
team.
not, but I won't rule it out.
Like I think Tulane's not a bad team. I think Tulane's probably right around App State.
Texas
in
Tech.
terms of
And I'd
sorry.
say A&M's
Yeah, no,
not
you're good.
competing for the SEC. Like I think that you reveal
Well,
yourself
you might.
as
Texas Tech lost 27-14 to NC State. Oklahoma State 63. Arkansas Pine Bluff 7. Texas 41. UTSA 20. UTSA scrappy, but Texas ends up
just too much talent. It's one of
Just
those.
too much talent.
And
They
Frank
tried.
Harris had a really good game and he kept him in it. But then even with like 8 minutes left in the fourth, like they took him out. It was like, all right, like Texas is just gonna beat us.
in the Big Ten. Oklahoma 49. Nebraska 14. Indiana survives in overtime, 33-30 over Western Kentucky, and they needed every bit of everything to do it.
Yeah, I mean
They were down 8, and they scored and got the 2-point conversion.
And then in Western Kentucky
Missed a
went down
field
the field,
goal.
missed a 35-yard field goal, 38-yard field goal,
yeah,
and now it's 42-17.
Okay, thank you.
And yeah, but Indiana's 3-0. They're a part of that weird 3-0 club. I said Vandy was a part of it on Twitter. I
Yeah.
apologize for that, but they're a part of it with Duke,
We're
Kansas,
gonna-
Kansas and Duke next week. 3-0 matchup.
we're gonna break down the best 3-0s, the worst 3-0s,
On
the
Tuesday?
best 2-1s, the worst 2-1s, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Syracuse 32, Purdue 29. Michigan wraps up its gauntlet of a non-conference schedule. I hope everybody's okay. I hope there were no lives lost in this incredible schedule. 59-0 over UConn.
Cade McNamara got hurt.
SIU beats Northwestern. Southern Illinois beats Northwestern. Northwestern started the season by beating Nebraska,
Mhm.
And
and we were impressed. We thought, oh wow, look at them, Helinski, good.
Yeah.
You can't be losing to Southern Illinois.
Fitzgerald is like kind of like a Ferentz, but that's kind of not giving enough credit
I think
to
he's the
Ferentz.
exact
Because Ferentz usually wins 8 games a year. Not Kirk. Sorry.
Fitzgerald has great and
Fitzgerald-
bad, great and bad.
Fitzgerald, but this is his second straight bad if it continues.
Yeah.
Usually it's every other.
Rutgers 16. I did not know this.
Yes.
Rutgers 16-14
They
over
almost
Temple.
lost. Yeah.
Wow.
They almost it was a very close one. It was a scrappy
Some of these just-
Northeast game.
Some of these just slide under the radar. Penn State 41, Auburn 12, and one of the more impressive showings of the weekend. Wisconsin 66, New Mexico State 7, Minnesota 49. Minnesota's good. 49-7 over Colorado, maybe the worst team in the country. Ohio State 77. Toledo. Stop that game. Stop that game at like 65. What
Yeah.
are we doing?
Yeah. I think what are we doing? We're playing for commercials.
I also I love how Ev will be like, no, we like to win with class, and
Right.
it's like at some point we were all like, can you make them stop?
Yeah.
Like this is this is hurting their feelings.
Washington 39, Michigan State 28, Maryland 34, SMU 27.
I thought that'd be higher scoring.
Maryland remains undefeated. We move to the
Also, Iowa's now 20-0 over Nevada.
Pac-12.
Burner.
42-17 USC. They're leading right now. Arizona State getting beat by Eastern Michigan with 10 minutes left. I don't need to read the scores that aren't final because you're going to listen to this when they are final. UCLA survives over South Alabama, 32-31. South Alabama, not a bad football team, but still.
Sunbelt.
Cal loses to Notre Dame. Oregon beats BYU by 21 points. Colorado loses. Washington State kills Colorado State. Washington beats Michigan State. Oregon State, 68 points over Montana State, and Utah, 35-7.
When Colorado and Colorado State play, how gross of a game is that going to be?
I'd rather not talk about it.
That's going to be a gross game. You're right about that.
I'd rather not talk
about it.
That's
Nobody wants to talk about it.
That's like what we thought Duke Kansas was going to
Yeah.
be, but now it's a 3-0 matchup.
Did I do the ACC?
No.
I forgot how the alphabet works. Shout out again Friday night. Great game, 35-31, Florida State.
With
Rodemaker?
Yep.
Florida State has great running backs, but Rodemaker just came out making throws. And where did they get this Randy Moss motherfucker?
Yeah, I know.
Johnny Wilson,
Yeah.
6'7", unbelievable receiver. He had 12 catches at Arizona State last year.
When
Yeah, what, like, how?
Jaden Daniels sucks, and he beat our ass.
That's true. Well, that happens.
Virginia Tech 27, Wofford 7. That's fun. Syracuse 32, Purdue 29, Virginia 16, ODU 14.
Boy, that was a fun game to watch.
Georgia Tech, Jeff Collins has to be fired soon. He's awful.
Where's the hot seat? It was like Brian Harsin, Neil Brown, Jeff Collins. Who's number one?
I think it's still.
I think they're all tied for one.
Yeah.
I think,
I
yeah,
think
probably.
they're all getting fired. But Jeff Collins is as good as fired right now.
Well, Brian's.
I've heard that West Virginia might not be able to fire Neil Brown because of money.
Oh, they're one of those schools.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
If Auburn loses to Mizzou,
Yeah.
I think he gets
God,
fired.
he has
I
to
think
be.
he gets fired like that night or the morning after.
Wake Forest 37, Liberty 36, Duke 49-20 over. Is that North Carolina A&T?
A&T.
NC State 27-14 over Texas Tech. Pitt kills Western Michigan 34-13. Boston College 38-17 over Maine. Clemson 48-20 over La Tech.
Took a second to get going with that game.
Miami
Clemson.
loses to A&M on the road. And last conference.
What's wrong?
Boys.
I don't know. My bet slip came up.
I knew it was something.
I forgot to put my lock of the weekend on my bet slip. I never hit
Damn.
send.
Vanderbilt 38, Northern Illinois 28.
Yep, there it goes.
Bama kills Louisiana Monroe 63-7. We already talked about this one. LSU 31-16. No more need for that. Tennessee 63-6 over Akron. They did what they had to do. And this was a game we haven't talked about yet, but the return of Bobby Petrino.
Arkansas is not good. Arkansas is not good. Arkansas is not good. Cincinnati wasn't good today. South Carolina stinks, and now they got lucky to beat Missouri State. Arkansas
Is not good.
What is today?
September 18th.
18.
September 18th, 2022. I'm looking dead in this camera. The Arkansas Razorbacks will lose their next 4 football games.
Wow.
4 in a row, huh?
They're going to lose to A&M, Alabama, and BYU.
He
And
said
you're gonna win
Mississippi State.
you're gonna
if
win
people
$100.
are listening.
They're going to lose their next 4 games. They are not a good football team. Do not fall for their shit. They should not be anywhere near the top 10.
I'm not falling for their shit, as you know, but take away the way that I feel about Arkansas, and Arkansas fans take away the way you feel. Can you imagine how Bobby Petrino must have felt knowing that, like, they sold out of neck braces and the whole thing? They did everything that they did. If he would have won that game.
I love how they still hate him, even though the fact that he's the best coach they've ever had.
Yeah, why are
At
they
least in
making
modern
fun of
times.
him like that?
At least in modern times. Continue.
Our logo just went out. I don't know if
We're
that
fixing
matters.
it.
Oh, he's fine. Noah's got it.
Kentucky 131-0 over Youngstown State. Mizzou sneaks by Abilene Christian 34-17. And
Vanderbilt.
Vandy beats Northern Illinois to make themselves 3-1.
And Ole Miss killed Georgia
And
Tech.
and
That
then
was my
Texas
lock of the
A&M, Texas A&M, Miami. We know about that one.
That was my luck of the
Bless.
week.
And Texas A&M pulls out the W.
Oh, so we're
right.
undefeated in our picks, huh?
Let's start to land this plane.
Okay.
Casey Smith, I will start with you. Who won the weekend?
I feel like I'm going to steal yours, but it's like the overall who won the week is the Kansas Jayhawks, right?
That's not who I had.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, we've talked about Kansas. We don't need to go in any more depth. I mean, the fact that any team that hits their over for a team total in week 3, and we're talking about Kansas, they won the week, because I don't think they're going to be ranked in the top 25. I think it'll take another week, but like, we're excited about Kansas. We're watching, like, Lance Leipold is all of a sudden a name that people are like throwing around for bigger jobs, and this is his second season. I think if you're Kansas, you're absolutely on the top for winning the week overall as a program.
Katie Stats, who won the week?
I'm gonna go Pac-12. I think just looking at Oregon and Washington, like, they've re-entered the picture. Everything I said after week 1 with Utah and Oregon has been completely kind of flip-flopped. So I'm very interested to see what Pac-12 looks like moving forward.
Jack Mack, who won the week?
Brock Bowers reminded us that he's the best tight end in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Brock Bowers. He just looked amazing.
Brandon Walker, who won the week?
Michael Penix has gone from a show punchline to one of the best. The NFL has an award called the Comeback Player of the Year. College football doesn't have it. If they did, he'd be winning it right now.
Big Penix energy.
Michael Penix.
That was RG3's quote.
Goes out to Washington. They're 3-0. They beat the shit out of Michigan State. He's just outstanding. Again, 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. Those are big-time numbers. Those aren't like game-manager numbers. Those aren't like dual-threat numbers. Those are big-time passing numbers. And Michael Penix came out of nowhere. I have no idea. Nobody saw this coming. He's winning right now overall, and he won this week. Casey Smith, who lost the week?
The Nebraska Cornhuskers lost the week.
Back-to-back weeks, I think.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like, all the narrative going into it, the hype, you know, you saw the way that fans were reacting. The stadium was popping, as well it should be. But then to go out and get absolutely embarrassed, and quickly, too. You didn't even get to enjoy that. It just shows how far Nebraska football really has fallen. And it shows that, you know, yes, they were great in the 90s, but that's a long, long time removed. And to get your shit kicked in the way that they did in like a moral hype game is just embarrassing. I mean, that's defeat. That game was over before halftime. That's humiliating.
It was over midway through the second quarter.
I mean, it was horrible. And now you see, okay, Scott Frost was an issue, but also the roster is an issue. And Nebraska, you're just not the brand of football that you were in the 90s. That's just a fact.
I think Scott Frost was kind of happy today.
Well, he's rich.
He's on a beach somewhere.
Katie
He's fine.
Stats.
I don't know. I think he's in the doghouse from what I've been hearing.
Katie Stats, who lost the week?
I think we'll go with South Carolina fans and Spencer Rattler. I think there's a lot of hype, excitement. They're like, this is the year, all the pieces. Let me be clear, this is not a shot on the team or Shane Beamer. This is more like the fan base and excitement. I think the balloon got popped today, and the Spencer Rattler, I'll say preseason, I was like, he's still be the same guy, got benched. He just, the what's your thing? The cheese is off the cracker for South Carolina.
Jack Mack, who lost the week?
Just going to echo what Katie Stats said. South Carolina fans. Transfer portal, they thought they really put together a team that was going to compete, and then they lose. What was the final score?
48-14.
48-7 to Georgia after last week. They made it close against Arkansas, but Arkansas dominated them.
Yeah.
Brandon Walker, who lost the week?
Yeah, it's Mike Leach.
You rehired him.
Oh,
though.
yeah, first time
I rehired him. That's fine. First firing and rehiring of the year.
Within minutes, right?
Yeah, well, you know, I've matured in my old age. Listen, you go down there, you got to have it. You're playing a team that we haven't beaten a lot, but you got to have it, and the offense was just bad. It was awful. I don't know that we ever threw the ball more than 5 yards down the field. We were predictable. He was going for like 4th and 1 on his own 20. It's just it just nothing felt right. We felt like a rotten apple from the core out, and it just he's a good coach, and we're going to be a good team, and we're probably going to knock off some teams we shouldn't knock off. But God, that was a disturbing effort in a must-win game, and I did not like it at all. Do you have a shit list, Casey Smith?
I do. It's not really that passionate though. Like
Mine's not either, but I got one.
I don't really have like something that I'm super passionate about being shitty. I think that I'm just gonna go with the way I felt all day. 9 p.m. Eastern kickoffs when it's your team. Like, it's great if it's not your team and you can just watch it. You might gamble on it. It's fine. Having to wait all day is miserable. And I know I tweeted it and there are people like, oh, well, actually it's 8. You fucking losers. It's 9 p.m. for TV. I don't care where it's kicking off. ESPN put that at 9 p.m., 9:10, whatever. But it's just these late games, and it's not because I'm old and I want to go to sleep, which is also a fact. It's just like having to wait all day. And then half times are like an hour long now. So my shit list is the 9 p.m. kickoff.
Katie Stats, shit list?
The weather in Iowa. I have 2 bets riding on between a 7-4 or a 9-2 weekend. The game kicked off at 4:30. Does end the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice. It's like in the trenches.
It's going to be a 12-hour long game.
No,
Just
you
end
don't
the
want
game.
them to. End
No,
the
you
game.
want the win. You got to get this game.
You have
in.
I know, but get done. Like speed it up.
Also, it's just lightning. At this point, let them risk it.
Darwinism.
Can lightning
It'll-
really hurt you in a helmet?
Won't it hit?
Oh, yeah.
It'll hit the stadium
It'll
lights
fuck you
before
up
it hits
bad.
you.
I
Even
think
with
a helmet's
helmet?
going to help.
Well, I don't know.
Lightning?
No,
There's
but
rubber in it.
people die.
Yeah.
In helmets?
Lightning will
Yes.
split a tree open.
The helmet for the
What's the whole thing like if you're grounded though?
like rubber tires, I think.
Oh. Well, what if they're
And
playing?
that's a myth, too, by the way.
No, that's
What
not.
if what
In
if,
That's a
cars?
myth.
what if they're
Safest
playing
spot
on
to
a field
be-
with the rubber bullets?
Turf?
Oh.
AstroTurf?
No.
You two, stop talking. Shit list, go.
I'm just gonna give it to the marketing campaign on Friday night. Whatever teachers, I don't know what it
Oh,
was.
this is good, Jack.
They brought Malik Cunningham's mother
This is
on,
so good.
and Malik Cunningham's mother is this nice lady, and she comes on.
She's a teacher.
She's a teacher wherever she's a teacher, which is great. She was wearing Malik Cunningham's jersey. It's a great moment, and she looks like just this great woman. And then they award her a big award for winning because she's such a great teacher. And shout out to her teaching the youth. And they gave her a whole $1,000.
$1,000.
Now-
That is so bad.
Now I'm not going to say that they shouldn't have given her $1,000. They made a whole TV campaign out of it and had her on TV asking her questions, and they asked her how she was going to spend it.
$1,000.
$1,000 is, and
The guy who gave it to her got a hug.
yeah,
Like, oh my God, I'm so happy for you.
and $1,000. I mean, like, you're a teacher, you make a call on like a AM radio.
That's $50 a kid.
Yeah, $50 a kid. And with inflation, everything, these kids get nothing. Maybe they get an ice cream party. Like, that's what they gave out, and they gave it out on ESPN.
Yeah.
Maine,
Give her $5,000.
5,000 at least.
Who raised the money?
I don't know. It was a weird
It's a
thing.
weird.
I had never seen him do it.
They do it. It's a thing, a campaign. I forget what it was. And then I tweeted about it, and people hit me up and said, I had a friend who got it last year, and you only get $500 of it because after taxes.
Oh,
so
God.
she only got $500.
Oh
That's an
my
ice cream
God.
party for her.
That's less than an
for
ice
her
cream
poor
party.
kid. Not I don't know where she teaches, but I mean like the poor kids that thought they got this big award. No, you just get like maybe some ice cream cones.
Yeah, you can't tote out like an award for, especially for teachers, knowing how like underpaid they
Yes,
are,
of
and give
course.
$1,000. Like you had a great point when we were talking about it, and they're like, put up your Venmo,
Yeah.
and she would have gotten way more than that.
All right.
Brandon Walker, who is your shit list?
Not very passionate, not very long. But I noticed it during with so many games these days. You really feel it when you have bad announcers, and I think there's a lot more bad announcers these days than there have been. I'm not going to call their names because I don't know their names. Actually, Andre Ware was the color guy.
Oh, he was so bad last night.
And Andre Ware wasn't great, but the play-by-play announcer and I don't know why. I don't know if COVID got him out of the practice, but he talked over the review or the official. Like there would be a flag, and he would just be talking, and you'd never get what the flag was. It was just like common professionalism and it was really bad announcing, and I've noticed it more this year than other years.
Well, also it has to do with like every game is televised.
Yeah,
now,
I mean,
too.
you're talking, you got to have, let's say there's 130 teams in the FCS teams. Let's say there's 80 games today, which I don't know how many games there are. Let's say there were 80 games. That means 80 games are on TV, some sort of TV.
I mean, streamed or on TV or
Ain't
I mean,
that
any
many
of
good
it.
announcers in this world.
No, and it is very glaring whenever they're bad.
Shout out RG3.
The CBS pregame going into Penn State Auburn was abysmal today.
I don't mind them.
Can I add
They're
another?
usually good. They just had so many things today. You're just like, what? Like, but whatever. It's
All
not the
right.
point.
Can I add one more winner of the week? It's more like
Please
a
don't.
Okay.
No, you can. You can.
It is LA Tech. They all every single player
Louisiana
wrote a
Tech.
letter. Huh?
Louisiana Tech?
LA Tech.
Louisiana
Yes.
Tech.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Don't say LA Tech. That doesn't.
Los Angeles.
That's not gonna. Yeah. No,
Oh,
I'm not trying to.
Oh no, you're fine. They all wrote letters to Brian Brees and like. This
Oh
cute
yes.
moment.
Brian Brees.
That was-
Shout out Brian Brees. He lost
Yeah.
his sister to
That was a very
to cancer.
very sad,
That
like,
was
sweet Instagram.
Not the ending.
The stadium all wore gray.
I'm gonna redo my shit list. I'm putting cancer on the shit list.
Oh,
Well,
congrats,
Clemson,
dude.
Clemson
What?
fans are gonna say.
I mean, way to one up the
Clemson fans.
Yours was
law
good too.
tech.
Clemson
Yours was good
fans
too.
think that you like cancer. Don't forget that.
Don't even make that joke now. with
Yeah,
Brian,
because
huh?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I can't believe you didn't do the shit list on the day for Brian Breese's sister. Dabo ran on the field in front of everyone, 50 yards in front of everyone.
Because he's taking the tradition
Yeah.
for himself. That is about Dabo now. It's not about the team.
Yeah.
Anyway,
He ran 50 yards ahead of them.
Yeah, it's on our Twitter. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
just-
he does it every game.
No, I didn't know.
This one was
not
special,
Today.
though.
Yeah,
This
no,
one
you
was
can't do
special.
that today.
All right.
Wow, no, it's Dabo's show.
Let's go ahead and land this plane. So that's week 3. We will be back Tuesday for some awards for
Yeah.
everything we want to talk about for next week. Yeah, that's
Shout
week
out
3.
the crew.
Shout out Noah for hanging around.
Noah, it's
Shout
If there
out.
was a cut in the middle, we just had a little tech issue. We figured it out, though.
Yeah.
fine.
Obviously, you're
We
watching it.
survived.
All right. That's unnecessary roughness.